vibe. Come let we lime, come let we vibe. Lime vibe. Oh, lime vibe.
So hello everybody and welcome once again to another Lime Vibe conversation. I am here today with Miss Kristin Frazer from the British Virgin Islands. She's a fashion designer and the owner of Trefle Designs in the British Virgin Islands. How you doing today, Kristin?
I'm doing good. How about yourself? Thanks for having me.
All is good on my end, man. You know, life is life, but we've got to push through it and we got to make the best out of it. Yes. So how's things going with you over there in the British Virgin Islands?
Things are going okay. We have definitely been having our fair share of the weather. As you know, if you're in the islands, from the islands, we're in the hurricane season. So, we're taking our licks bit by bit, but all in all, we're doing well.
Did you? Okay. So, I think the hurricane season ends on November 30th, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah, somewhere around thereabouts, and we've dodged hurricanes, so we'll take the rain any day over a hurricane.
yes. That's me too. Actually, we dodged hurricanes here in the Bahamas as well, and so we just want to pray for everybody who's being struck by hurricanes. I think Haiti's been struck by hurricanes as well as the Dominican Republic earlier this year.
Yes.
Always
prayers always for us.
Yes, indeed. So, did you grow up in the British Virgin Islands? Where did you grow up, Kristin? Or were you born
I grew up right here in the British Virgin Islands. I, according to BVI landers, I'm hey. I from hey.
Okay.
That's just a little bit of our dialect because I have to muzzle this a little bit, But I grew up right here. I was born in Road Town, actually where I am right now. And I grew up here, went to primary school, high school, had quite a bit of upbringing here before I moved off to college. So all of my building up to where I am today started from right here on the big, beautiful island of Tortola.
Okay, that's Road Town's capital, right?
Yes, Tortola. The city is Road Town capital. Yes, Road Town, Tortola.
I got you. So, how was growing up then in Road Town?
It was good. So even though we're not too big, I am from the western end of the island, and my dad is actually from the western end. My mom is from the eastern end, but I grew up on the western end of Tortola in a place called Zion Hill. And so the way I grew up, the beach was just a hop, skip away. And so we're very mountainous as well here in the British Virgin Islands. So I have had my fair shares of walking up and down hills as well, not only to get to the beach, but to get to a cousin's house, to get to school, and so on. And so, growing up back then, in those days, we were outside literally. I know you use the term here these days, be outside, but we were literally outside, playing, climbing those guinea trees, those tamarind trees, kind of just experiencing life and nature and being one with each other. Now, also if you're a Caribbean person, you have a big family. So I have like 9 aunts on one side, so you can imagine the amount of first cousins I have. So there was no shortage of cousins for me in terms of having people to play with, and to people to ramp with, if you will. And so I had a really, really cool upbringing. I have 3 brothers. I have 3 brothers, no sisters.
Wow.
Only girl child. And fun fact, true story, I was a good tomboy boy. There was no dresses, I was on the bikes. I was doing everything, right? Especially if you have no sisters. So I think I blossomed quite well. But I really had an awesome time growing up. No complaints at all. The most fun and favorite places for me to be then and now was the beach. You cannot beat a beautiful beach. And so that's where I spend a lot of my time as well.
Okay, that's good. But you got a good childhood, man. So you're kind of a tomboy, you say?
Yeah, man. I had to kind of, I went through that. I went through it, and because having 3 brothers, they were doing a lot of things, that I wanted to do as well, that I had interest in, and so I really grew up in that space where I had to work hard, play harder, and kind of command the respect that I could do things, that the boys were doing too, So,
are you the youngest one?
At the same time, I had a softer side, and I loved music, and I loved singing, and all these different things. So I had, or still have rather, quite a range of skill sets that I use to that I also incorporate into my business.
Are you the youngest one?
I'm the third out of four.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. So you get a chance to bully. You get a chance to bully someone at least.
You know what? No. Yes, because I'm the only girl. But back then, no, not even my younger brother. Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
So you said you went to college. Where did you study in college? And where did you go to college? And where did you study?
I went to college at a private school. I wasn't fortunate to have the college experience, if you will, like a university experience. I chose the more artistic route, and I went to a college called the International Academy of Design and Technology. So the school only focused on literally design and technology. All of my general credits from my local community college, however, transferred. And so I studied in Tampa, Florida. The school has since been renamed Sanford Brown. But that's where I went to school to study fashion design and marketing in Tampa, Florida.
Okay, that sounds good. I heard about this. I studied in South Florida as well too, actually, but I never had a chance to visit that school. One of my ex-girlfriends actually went to that school, the International School of Fashion Design.
Oh, yeah. And you know, that school had several campuses across, several schools across the US, but we actually had about 3 different campuses in different areas of Tampa in West Hillsborough. Because the school was small. So we literally used to have to take a shuttle bus to one space in West Hillsborough, take a shuttle bus to another class, let's say costume design, downtown Tampa in a hotel. Like it was really interesting. And then another class in some other random building somewhere else. Like it was a really interesting time. And I never thought about it until now, because now that I'm thinking back, I'm like, oh my gosh. You
had an experience.
Really,
I know.
Really interesting. Yes, definitely interesting.
So I'm glad you enjoyed your college life. I think we all do when we look back at it now. Especially now when we get into the real life, we realize how tough it is. We tend to appreciate those days more when we were in college and we had that fun, that experience, right? I do now myself. Yeah. So
yes, I definitely. I was a part of the Caribbean Association, and I had quite a bit of Bahamian friends.
Okay.
So I'm glad that you speak about Bahamas. I had quite a bit of Bahamian friends as well that also went to the school. And so my experience, I wouldn't take it back for the world. I absolutely loved it.
No, please don't. Please do not. They're the best days of your life, I believe.
Yeah, of course.
So you studied fashion design in Tampa. So when did you finally get into fashion? I mean, how did you get into fashion designing? What led you to that?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I'm in a very cool and creative and artistic space right now. Behind me is just a small little piece of my quote unquote little boutique space. And I'm actually within a building, and this building belongs to my grandmother. And so my grandmother started a company called Clovers in 1962. And so I am 3rd generation, because my grandmother was heavy into the arts and craft, sewing, anything that was creative that she could put her hands to, she did. And she got some of her formal training in Trinidad, and then came back to BVI and taught the wider BVI community, and became known as the godmother to many, literally. And so she really made an impact on quite a bit of people in the community with her skills. And so I would say that that's kind of where it started, because when I was born, my mom did the same thing. She studied home economics and taught home economics in school as well. And then when I was born and I came in from the age of about maybe 5, 6, I would say about maybe 7 thereabouts, I began to experience, the use of the sewing machine and touching fabric and feeling the hand of the fabric and kind of understanding the different notions and different things like that. I was a very inquisitive child, by the way. Lots of questions always. And so that's kind of where I got my start. So my old biography said that, I'm a 3rd generation seamstress turned designer, which is pretty cool. So you watched your grandmother put these things together all your life. Correct. Pretty much. Do you make your own designs now, or you still depend on other people to make designs for you? So in the beginning, there's a slight difference between doing design and constructing, right? Yes. So using the sewing machine versus being an actual technical designer. And I was sewing for quite some time and made a lot of my pieces myself, designed the pieces and made the pieces myself. And so when I went off to school, of course, to kind of refine my craft, I understood much better, not just from a creative perspective, but from an international perspective, what would be required if I really want to take this particular career serious. And so I just kind of merged the two together. And once I came back home from college, I decided to start my business. And I said, okay, well, if in order for me to actually have a business and start it and progress, I'm going to need to get off the sewing machine. So I no longer sew. I have people that do sew for me, but I do all of my designs myself.
All you design yourself. Okay, that's
Correct.
good. So how big is your company now? How big is Trefle? Tell me a bit about Trefle since we
So Trefle is how I pronounce it because it is a French word. And so the French would usually say trèfle, but I say Trefle because it's just easier for everybody to pronounce and to understand. And Trefle is French for clover, right? Like a clover leaf. And so I decided to name the company after my grandmother, continuing the legacy that she started. So she never had her own brand, and my mom never had her own brand, but I do. And so I wanted to honor both my mom and my grandmother. And interestingly enough, my mother and my grandmother have the same first name. So Ruth. And then my grandmother's middle name is Clover and last name Anthony. So you have the merger there, you have the history there. And so for the past 15 years, this is 15 years for me now, eh?
Wow.
So for the past 15, well, thank you. But for the past 15 years, I have done my best to curate and create designs within the swimwear and the resort wear and the accessories field. And so I started out as a one-man band, and now I am a one-man band with lots of help, if that makes sense. You know, it's interesting because I live in a very small place, a small slice of paradise. And I have, had many opportunities to be able to promote my brand and grow it organically over the years. Yes. But in terms of staffing and all of that I think will come in time. I can reach the masses with a very small team, and that's been okay for me for now. And also just coming from and living here in the British Virgin Islands, it comes with quite a bit of challenges as well. So the company has not grown in terms of bodies and staff and payroll, but the company has definitely grown in visibility, connections, clients, and, the overall aesthetic of the brand and where I see the brand going in the next 5, 10, 20 years from now.
Okay, we're gonna get to your connections in a bit. I just want to talk a bit more about Trefle because you say 15 years now, right?
Yes.
And I think, is your grandmother alive? You still see it? Is your grandmother?
She is not. She is not. She, interestingly enough, again, I just have some really cool stories, cute stories, interesting stories. But when I interned in 2006, I moved to New York from Tampa because I said, you know what? If I can get an internship with Carolina Herrera, who I absolutely adore and love, I would take it. And at the time, I also was like, if I get an internship with Tracy Reese, Black designer, big Black designer at that time, and it didn't have many Black designers that you would see on an international platform, right? That I absolutely loved as well. But I got Carolina Herrera, and I was like, okay, I'm doing my internship in New York. I don't know where I'm staying. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that they called me back and said that they would like me to work with them, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'll figure it out. So I always figure it out. And when I interned with Carolina Herrera in 2006, that was January to March, my grandmother, she got to see me, participate and help out backstage for New York Fashion Week with Herrera. It was absolutely beautiful. I got to tell her my stories. She saw, pictures of me because I got featured on Yahoo News in terms of what's next in fashion. I would never forget. I wore a black skirt with a white top, a black kind of cardigan vest kind of thing with an orange tote bag. And I got stopped on the street during Fashion Week and was told, hey, do you want to take a picture for Yahoo Fashion? I was like, yeah, sure.
Oh, you were killing it.
That was, and I had some really cool black boots. That was one of and the only image that my grandmother got to see that I sent to her. And she passed shortly after. But before she passed, she said to me, she is very, very proud of me. She cannot wait to see what I do because I will make an impact in the world, and I'm of course a bit sad that she's not able to see all that I've done over all these years, but she helped to make my start a reality, and she encouraged me, she supported me, and when I came back home, I decided this is what I want to do. I want to be a fashion designer and I want to make an impact and become a really cool ambassador for the BVI. as well.
Yes. You are an ambassador because you're making waves all over the Caribbean, actually. It's funny how I ran into you. I didn't run into you, but I ran into something that was written about you by the Caribbean Export Development Agency. Remember that?
Oh, yes.
I reached out to you, and I said this is something. So I'm always into people with fashion design, people involved in the creative arts, and so I'm always interested in that. So how does it feel being in the creative arts inside the British Virgin Islands? How does it feel? Is it stifling? Is it liberating?
It is definitely not stifling. I am I am directly the face of fashion in terms of fashion design and producing and creating and curating. And so I have taken on that task of kind of breaking down the barriers and opening the conversation and opening up the doors a little bit more for younger creatives to come. Because again, the British Virgin Islands is so small, and we don't have the resources per se so much. We don't have as much opportunities as well because of where we're based. And so I always tell people, if I was from Jamaica or Guyana or Trinidad or Barbados or St. Vincent, you know, I might get a little bit more opportunity because there are a lot more designers and creatives that have the same kind of goal and mission, right? And so they can make more of an impact because it's quite a handful of them, quite a bit of them. But in the British Virgin Islands, we have literally, I can count on one hand, the designers that are trying to, you know, make a name for themselves and grow their business. So when I started, there was no one doing it before me. And so I had to kind of, I guess, indirectly pave the way. And I went through some highs, went through some lows, went through some challenges, but I also had quite a bit of success that, again, has gotten me to where I am today. So it's not stifling, but it is definitely a challenge. But it's a good challenge, and I like a good challenge, which is why I'm in fashion.
That's good. That's good, Kristin. You know, you seem very upbeat, man. So what more can be done for creatives like yourself in the British Virgin Islands and the Caribbean in general? What more can be done for you guys?
Well, a lot of things are actually being done all the time. It's just, you know, are the designers really ready to take on the role of, should they get an opportunity to get international credits or international mentions or international opportunities? That's where we're at. And I usually tell not just the local designers, but I tell other Caribbean designers that might still be sitting behind the sewing machine. I tell them, come on and get up from out behind the machine, right? Because you can't really grow and scale your business if you're behind the machine sewing everything. Say, I'm a designer. I made this piece myself. You know, I'm wearing it myself. I'm selling it myself. You know, there's so many avenues and facets to the business that you have to look at. And so businesses like Export Caribbean Development Agency, or even the OECS, and other nonprofit organizations see the creatives and see fashion, see graphics, see photography, modeling, and everything. They're now seeing it as a viable career that you can actually make money off of and thrive of. And so they're now trying to have the conversations to see, how can we get you guys more on a regional and international stage? And if that's the case, are you ready for it? Right. And so, you know, conversations continue to be had in the bigger countries, in Jamaica, Barbados, and so on. And people are doing what they need to do to get themselves out there, and not necessarily waiting on these agencies as well, but are just doing what they need to do from their natural understanding or from their schooling. So for me, I had the schooling, or from just their experience in general of wanting to build a brand, right? So whether that's through influencers, or they build it through TikTok, or they build it through getting a celebrity to wear their piece, everybody's doing what they have to do to kind of, you know, make it. Right, in their own way. And so what might work for one Caribbean designer in Jamaica might not work for the designer in the Bahamas, right? So the general conversation is happening, and things continue to brew in terms of designers pushing the envelope and getting their product out there and internationally recognized. It's just to ensure that myself, as well as others, stay consistent and persistent, because if you're consistent, you will get, you know, opportunity. Right. That's what I would say.
Indeed. And you mentioned something very important, Justin. You said, well, you alluded to it, that there's a difference between being a designer and the business of fashion design. So how much of a transition have you made from being not just a seamstress or a fashion designer, but actually being involved in the business? How is the business compared to actually designing?
You know, it's interesting because I pondered this the other day, and I said to myself, Chris, you know, you're a fashion designer, which is true. You built your brand, which is true. But I have been finding myself falling just a touch bit in love more on the business side. So you're talking negotiations, you're talking selling wholesales direct with buyers, you're talking creating opportunities for myself, creating licensing agreements, understanding the market, understanding what it takes to grow an actual business, understanding, the finances, understanding the actual business plan and shifting and pivoting, understanding how powerful a mentor is and how powerful networking is, right? And none of that has anything to do with your actual creative ability to sketch and curate a cohesive collection, right? And so I am like in the middle at this point for me, because in order for me to continue to scale, I need to understand the business. But at the same time, I need to understand my design direction to be able to have products that people would actually love and want to actually purchase and sell and wear for growth. So I'm in that uncomfortable state within my 15-year journey of really deciding where I want my brand to be, how I want it to look, the type of people that I'm catering to, and what that could look like globally, right? I have always thought of my business as an international business from the time I got my trade license. And yes, sometimes designers don't even have their trade licenses because they just focus on design, right? Or they haven't even trademarked their name, their logo name, or registered their mark, right? And so those are the things, or even incorporate their business, right? So Trefle is incorporated, right? Because all those things are important, but those are that's on the business side of things, right? And it's I am on a very special journey, and I'm on a new chapter. I have reinvented the brand's look 3 times. So I am no longer, I'm at the 3rd time, and that's it for me in terms of the font type and the brand mark type. Yes, I officially launched my new look and brand and everything in April of 2023. So I am really excited for where the brand is going to go, because it has evolved nicely. And so I think that's the thing that's kind of keeping me grounded and keeping me excited and passionate. The fact that a new chapter is about to unfold, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Yes. So you're a wheeler dealer now, Kristin. You're a wheeler.
Say again?
I say you're a wheeler dealer now, Kristin.
Yeah, man.
See you
I would sell the bath water back to the baby.
I can imagine you sitting down at the table wheeling and dealing with some of the big shots, man. But you have some big shots coming up at your new show, aren't you? You're going to have a Michelle Williams with Destiny's Child there. So before we get to Michelle Williams, tell me a bit about this new show, the Runaway Show. This is going to be celebrating your 15th year in business, right?
Yes.
So it's called The Runaway, right?
It's called The Runway. And, leading up to The Runway, it was very important for me when I initially launched the new look of the brand and the new brand symbol, which is actually a updated modern version, I think, of the clover leaf, again, building on legacy, heritage, and continuing to own the family legacy, but also creating my own path as well, right? And so in April, when I launched the new logo, was called The Exhibition. The Road to the 15th has been a combination of events that I decided I want to curate. Normally, I would have one event per year, and that would just be, a really cool event in a really cool space, to have a fashion show and a pop-up all in the same breath, for people to experience the collection firsthand, shop the collection, and learn a little bit more about the brand. Normally, that's what I would do once a year, every year. But since it's the 15th, I said, you know what? I'm either going to go hard or go home.
Go home, yeah.
So I went with the former, and I said, I'm going to create multiple events within 1 year and parallel that with storytelling, parallel that with the British Virgin Islands as an ultimate luxury destination, and put myself in front of the camera just a little bit more so that people get to know me, and they will then get to understand what the brand is about. And so they will grow with me and we grow together, right?
Actually,
so the first event.
Actually, I'm kind of honored for you being here. This isn't the first time I've asked you to come on the show, isn't it? I've asked you 2 times.
Yes, this is the very first time. First time.
Yeah, so
we've had many conversations and many features, but this is our first time, literally.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. You decided to come on to the show with me. So you're now, this event is going to be held when? The 15-year thing.
The 15-year event is going to be held on Sunday, December 3rd, because I thought it would be so cool and creative to have a fashion show at the heart at the heart of Road Town in Tortola at the roundabout. So we have two roundabouts. We have two roundabouts on the entire island. And I chose the roundabout in Road Town. And the roundabout in Road Town is also very, very close to my grandmother's building here, the Clovers establishment. And so that's just kind of bringing it home. I'm literally bringing it home. And it's a 60-piece collection that's going to be curated.
Wow.
Also encompassing that with the 60 islands, islets, rocks, and keys that we have in the British Virgin Islands. And so this is not just swim and resort wear. This is storytelling. This is heritage, culture, legacy, and the evolution of the brand, while also merging my time, my talents, my experiences. I'm merging it with my mentees as well. And I'm giving two of my mentees an opportunity to also showcase within the sphere of the 60-piece collection that's going to be going around the roundabout. So creatively, it's super cool. A lot of people are like, we don't understand, but it's an event that I definitely will be most proud of.
I got you.
I'm sorry?
It's definitely something you have to come out there and see.
Yes, you have to come and see it and experience it for 1 hour.
Are you going to be doing it virtually as well? Did you give you a chance from around the...
I won't. You know why? Because it's also an event that's not for profit. It's an event that won't have any products for sale or anything like that. And people, that are going to come support and purchase a ticket, I want everything to be the full experience. I want people to be submerged in the experience. And so if you ain't buy a ticket to come to the event, it would be also a little unfair to stream live it, versus the people that would have bought the tickets to come. So you kind of just got to be there.
Got to be there in the moment. How much went into putting this together, though? Doing a 60-piece show around the roundabout seems to be very, very taxing. And seems to be like a lot went into it. How much went into putting this together?
It's a lot of logistics. It's something that we've been planning since 2022 November. A lot of logistics, a lot of fine tuning, a lot of changing of the plans, if you will. I think we changed the design of the runway and how it's going to look creatively about maybe 3 or 4 times, just because, you do everything, you have this big plan, then you get the quotes and the quotes come back and you're like, whoa, the prices are a bit high. Let's go ahead and pivot. So it's been interesting. It's been very challenging at the same time, but I think it'll be very, very, very rewarding. And my team and I are super excited about it. And having, the celebrity guests come and support the event also means the world to me. It's going to be something magical.
Well, speaking of celebrity guests, Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child, you're having her come over. Where did you meet Michelle Williams?
So Michelle, you see this thing called networking and coupled with being consistent. I love those two things because from day one, all I have been and all I know how to do is be myself. And I picked myself quite a bit. And you either are going to get a yes or a no, right? And so you won't know if you don't try. You won't know if you don't ask. And I'm an asker. So I met Michelle Williams in 2017 after Category 5 hurricanes Irma and Maria hit the BVI. I got the opportunity just a few days prior to have a pop-up shop meeting with Keisha Knight Pulliam. And so Keisha was Rudy Huxtable from the Cosby Show. So she was in the BVI just a few days prior. And so when, we got wind of the hurricane and everything, I said to her, I got the opportunity to meet her. And I said to her, okay, but you're probably going to leave the country early. She was like, yeah, I'm going to leave. So I think she left either on the 5th or the 6th. And then the hurricane came on the 7th. And, with her being in Atlanta, seeing everything that was happening, she reached out to me on my DM and she said, hey, are you guys okay? This is, of course, once I got Wi-Fi back and everything. And I said, well, we're a bit of a mess. I was in a state of shock, just like everybody else. But, I was like, let's pick ourselves up. What do we have to do? Let's just do what we have to do. Right. And so she said to me, well, your brand is probably smashed now. What are you going to do? I was like, I'm not thinking about my brand. I'm just thinking about family, friends. How are we going to just get through this day? Everything was being taken day by day. So she said to me, Kristin, if you can get to Atlanta, there's an event that's going to be happening. It's a women empowerment event. You should bring your pieces, come to Atlanta and be a part, have a booth. We're going to give you a booth and, sell your stuff. So that you could try to, make some money and so on and get your name out there a little bit more to these women that are going to come to this event. I said, okay. And again, I'm not really thinking about it so much. but I ended up saying, you know what, I should probably do it, thinking about the bigger picture. And I did it. And so while there, they said to me, well, we also want to hear your story, because she said, I know your story, but all these women need to hear your story, you know? And I said, okay. And she said, we're going to give you about 2-3 minutes to tell your story on this platform with the other guests that are going to be on the stage. And so I said, okay. And interestingly enough, Yuri, I can't make this stuff up. I wore the same dress on the stage. Interestingly enough. And Michelle Williams was sitting right next to me.
Wow.
And she was sitting on my right. And on my left was Keisha Knight Pulliam. Next to Keisha was Megan Good. Next to Megan Good was the co-founder of the Fearless Women Conference, and her name is Ariane Simone. And so I'm on this panel with all these amazing women, and they gave me the chance to tell my story. I walked up on the panel, sat down, and I'm feeling okay. But you know, when you have to relive going through a Category 5 hurricane story and all the stuff that you went through, I broke down in probably the first minute and a half. So but I tried to hold it together. And there's a picture of me on Instagram that I posted, and my face is down and I'm trying to like wipe the tears, and Michelle is just looking at me like, you know, like, oh my gosh, this girl is amazing. And that's how I met her. And that was in 2017, November. So fast forward to 2023, I asked the question, and I asked if she can come to the event and support the event. I would love to have her send her that little picture, because I remember that picture. And she said yes, just like that, you know. And so really excited to have her. Yeah.
Did you DM her personally, or did you have to go through her assistant? Do you know her personally?
So I know her personally from when we met in 2017, but she is coming along with Beyonce's publicist, Miss Yvette Noel-Schure, correct? Okay.
That's the Grenadian lady, right?
And Yvette is from Grenada, so you know she loves her Caribbean women. And I met Yvette after, of course, and so Yvette and I are very, very cool. Absolutely love her to pieces, and she has been a supporter of me as well. She actually has a piece named after her in one of my collections. Yeah, I named a piece after her. So I went to Yvette and I said, Yvette, I would love for Michelle to come. Is this going to be possible? Here are the dates, yada, yada, yada. And bada bing, bada boom.
And it's worked out. So where did you meet Yvette from, though?
It's so interesting. Yvette was wearing my clothes before I even knew who Yvette was, because Beyonce wore my pieces, and I didn't know who Yvette was. Wow. So I knew Beyonce from before, but Yvette was wearing my clothes before I even knew who she was. And I met Yvette here in the BVI because a good friend of mine, Jeanette Bryn, who has her own women's empowerment event and magazine called Caribbean Posh, she was able to get my pieces on Yvette, and Yvette, I guess, fell in love with my pieces. And then we met, and it's like when we met, we just instantly connected. And so Yvette has been a fan ever since. I think Yvette has a piece from every single collection of mine since 2017.
Really? That's amazing.
A piece from every line. Yeah.
She's one of Grenada's finest sisters, actually. People talk about
it all the time. Yeah. Of course. She's amazing. She takes that flag wherever she goes. She's been in the US forever, but she doesn't play about her heritage and her roots.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's the networking I'm talking about. That's the connection, and that's the brand building, and that's the kind of organic friendships that naturally happens when you have, good intention, when you put good things out into the world, and you're just a good person in general.
Yes, indeed. That's an amazing story, Kristin. So you went from a hurricane to meeting stars, and now having stars coming to see you and wearing your pieces. That's an amazing story, Kristin.
Yes.
Any other encouraging words you have for other creatives out there, for particularly women creatives out there, that they can keep pushing and be a success themselves?
Yeah. I would say own your truth and own your story. It's very important, because your story is never going to be one that's that's completely 100% positive, but you own it nonetheless. And one of the best things that you could do, at least in this age, to me, in this day, is to tell your story and be unapologetic about it, and apply that to your personal life, your business life, everything, and just kind of orchestrate what that could look like for you, and be unapologetic about it, because in business, it's not going to be easy. It's not easy for anybody, but especially for women, Black women, Caribbean women in general, it's not easy at all. And so if you keep the words consistency, persistence, networking, and a positive mindset, and you kind of mix all that together. And of course, you use your talents, your natural talents. I think that there's no stopping. There's no stopping you. So whether the good comes, whether the bad comes, it's all gonna come regardless. It's just, how do you stay positive? How do you continue to stay true to yourself? You just kind of do. You have to make that decision, make that choice inwardly, and let everything else come out outwardly. And you just kind of run with that. Yeah.
That's amazing. I like your positivity, Kristin. I really love it a lot. Any final thoughts about your upcoming show? So run down exactly what's going to happen in the show, the date and everything, what's going to happen at the show, please, Kristin.
Sunday, December 3rd. It's the first Sunday in December. And I'm a Capricorn baby, so my birthday is December 23rd. So I'm ending the game strong, ending the year strong. Sunday, December 3rd. It is a 1-hour show from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. It is called The Runway, and it is a full 60-piece collection that my mentees and I are curating. We are excited to show costume wear, avant-garde wear, swimwear, resort wear, and have some really, really cool models, because it's 60 pieces, 60 models, one big story. So you don't want to miss it, in the heart of Road Town, Tortola, British Virgin Islands.
That sounds good, Kristin. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Everybody, that's Kristin Frazer, the owner and proprietor and lead designer of Trefle Designs in the British Virgin Islands. So thank you so much for coming with us, Kristin.
Thank you so much. I had a blast.
Thank you. Send it right here. Let's see.